So, is astrology real? I mean, that's the big question, right? It kind of pits this ancient tradition against our modern skeptical minds. In this explainer, we're going to look past all those vague newspaper horoscopes and really dig into the argument from a totally different angle, the Vedic one.
All right, let's just dive right in. When we look up at the stars, what's really going on? Are we just making up stories to feel better, or is there something real under the hood? A solid framework actually at play? It's a question that's definitely worth looking at with an open mind.
And hey, just so we're clear, I'm not here to get you to believe in anything blindly. Not at all. The whole point today is to understand what Vedic astrology actually claims it is, and then, more importantly, to give you a super simple, practical way to test it out for yourself.
Okay, first things first, let's talk about the elephant in the room. If you're skeptical about all this, you have some really good reasons to be. So let's just start there by laying out the most common and, frankly, the most valid doubts.
Okay, so skeptics will point out, and they're right, that there's no known physical force, like no gravity beam or weird ray from Mars that's literally making you argue with your boss. And yeah, they're also totally right that those newspaper horoscopes are so vague they could apply to anyone. Classic confirmation bias. And maybe the biggest one, if Western and Vedic systems give different answers, how can either of them be right? These are all totally fair questions, and they all come back to one big assumption about what astrology is supposed to be doing in the first place.
So with that in mind, let's look at the big reframe that Vedic astrology or Jyotish offers. It basically asks us to think about it less like a dictator telling you what's going to happen and more like, more like a map for your life's journey. And this right here, this is the absolute key. Most of the skepticism is aimed at the idea of causation. The planets forcing stuff to happen down here. But the Vedic claim is totally different. It's all about correspondence. It's not saying Saturn causes you to have a tough time. It's saying that when Saturn is over there in the sky, it correlates with a time in your life when themes like discipline and, yeah, maybe some delays are front and center. It's a pattern, not a push. A huge difference. So a much better way to define Jyotish is to see it as a symbolic timing system. That's it. It's like a language that helps describe the different cycles and seasons of your life. The goal isn't to lock you into some unchangeable future. No, it's to help you see your own patterns more clearly so you can make smarter choices inside of those patterns. I love this quote because it just nails it. The chart is the map, it's not the road itself. It can show you where the steep hills are or where the smooth stretches might be, but it doesn't drive the car. Your choices, your hard work, your free will, that's all you. You are always in the driver's seat. Okay, so if it's a map, how is it a good map? How does this all come together as a coherent system? Well, the argument for why it might actually be valid really rests on three main pillars. So, pillar number one is coherence. A Vedic chart uses this one consistent language of symbols. You got your planets, houses, signs, and these cool things called nakshatras, which are lunar mansions. A good astrologer isn't just looking for one little thing. They're looking for a theme that shows up again and again from different angles. When a bunch of different techniques all point to the same story, well, that's when you know you've got a strong signal, not just noise. The second pillar is a huge one, maybe the most important part of Jyotish, timing. The system uses these things called dashas, which are basically planetary periods. You can think of them like chapters in the book of your life. And the claim is that these chapters, along with the day-to-day movements of the planets, line up pretty well with major shifts we all experience. When your career suddenly takes off, or a big relationship starts, or you hit a challenging patch. It's all about tracking when these themes in your life get switched on. And the third pillar is really the simplest, most down-to-earth one, practical utility. In other words, does it actually help? I mean, if a system helps you see a tough phase coming so you can prepare, or helps you spot an opportunity so you can grab it, then it has real value. It doesn't even matter how it works, right? If it's useful, it's useful. The weather forecast is the perfect analogy for this. The forecast says there's a 70% chance of rain. It doesn't make it rain, and it sure doesn't force you to take an umbrella. It just gives you good info so you can make a better choice. The fact that it's useful is all the proof you need. So what can you realistically expect from this? Well, it can be an amazing tool for self-awareness. It can help you put a name to your core personality or figure out why you react to stress the way you do. It can also act like a highlighter, flagging those recurring patterns in your life. The places you always seem to get tested or where things come easy. And maybe most importantly, it can help you spot those timing windows, the seasons when it's time to go all in versus when it's smarter to just lay low and consolidate.
Now, it's just as important to be super clear about what it can't do. This is not a crystal ball. It cannot and does not guarantee specific events will happen with 100% certainty. It is absolutely not a substitute for taking personal responsibility or, making a practical plan. And it should never override your own common sense or the advice you get from a professional like a doctor or a lawyer. That's just critical to remember.
All right, that's enough of the theory. The best way to figure out if there's anything to this isn't to debate it, it's to actually try it. So let's walk through a really simple test you can do all by yourself. Okay, here's your 8-week experiment. First up, just go online and find a Vedic astrology calculator to generate your chart. The one thing to look for is a setting called Lahiri Ayanamsa. Just make sure that's selected. It's the standard one. Okay, once you have your chart, you're looking for 3 key pieces of info. Your ascendant, or lagna, which is kind of your core identity, your moon sign, which is all about your emotional world, and your moon's nakshatra, which adds another layer of detail. Got it? Good. Now, take a second and be really honest with yourself. Write down 3 big recurring themes in your life. After that, find your current dasha. That's your major planetary period, telling you the main flavor of your current life chapter. Now for the big question. Does the planet ruling this dasha seem to match up with the themes you're actually living through right now? If it does, try this. Choose one small, deliberate action that aligns with that season of your life and just watch what happens. Track it for 8 weeks and see for yourself. And while you're doing this, let's just quickly bust a couple of big myths. Myth number 1, astrology removes free will. Nope. The reality is it just shows you the map and the calendar. You and only you choose how to navigate it. You are always in control of your response. Okay, myth number 2. It's all just vague Barnum statements. Stuff that could apply to anyone. And look, for those pop horoscopes, that's totally true. But a real Vedic reading is the opposite of vague. It's incredibly specific. It weaves together the meaning of the house, the sign, the planet, the nakshatra, and the timing to create a super detailed picture that is unique to you. It's not generic flattery. So this brings us right back to the core of the Vedic argument. Forget trying to prove this in a science lab. The real test, the only test that matters, is it useful? Look, it's not some vending machine for predictions. You can't just put a coin in and get a guaranteed future. A better way to think of it is as a language for talking about meaning and patterns and timing. And if learning that language helps you move through your own life with just a little more clarity, a little more intention, then it's real enough to matter, isn't it? At the end of the day, you don't have to believe in any invisible forces to get something out of this. You could just treat it as a really interesting psychological model or unique kind of calendar. That's it. The only question left is, could this map and this calendar be useful to you? And really, the only way to find out is to give it a try.